Welcome to our fifth lesson on globalisation and fast fashion. Today what we're going to be doing is looking into our own purchasing habits. So on Friday I posted a link to a questionnaire which some of you answered. If you didn't answer it, don't worry about it, because we're going to be using the data today anyway, and we'll have a think about what the data shows us. So please, at this point, please open up the help sheet which shows you how to present your work today. What I've done is I've stuck two A4 pieces of paper together. If you have A3 paper, that'd be great to use. If you don't have blank A3 or A4 paper, then just do today's work into your book. So before we get into what today's lesson is, I just wanted us to have a look at this graph here, and there's a link below if you want to read a little bit more information. So this graph shows that in between 2000 and 2015, our clothing sales and the number of clothes that we're buying has increased quite dramatically. However, clothing utilisation, which is the number of times that clothing is worn, has decreased quite significantly. So essentially we're buying more clothes, but we're wearing those clothes a smaller number of times than we would have done at one point. So today we're going to be looking at our purchasing habits and having a think about what people are buying and why. So learning objectives, we're going to think about how to conduct an investigation in geography, and also understand how to plot and analyse data and evaluate an investigation. What we're doing today is what Year 10 have spent the last couple of weeks doing. So for every aspect of a geographical investigation would usually take at least a lesson to do and to discuss. We're doing a micro investigation today just to give you a sense of what it involves. If you do take GCSE geography, which many of you will, you'll be collecting your own data in Cleveleys or in Bowness in the Lake District. You'll be plotting the data that you found, and you'll be writing up your findings and your evaluation. But today just gives you a taste of what might be involved. So before we get into the lesson, just a little bit of a background again. So we've used the term fast fashion quite a bit recently, and hopefully you've got the idea that people are buying more clothes, but these clothes are often coming from factories in poorer countries or low-income countries, and some of the circumstances around which these clothes are made are not ideal. So I'm not going to read these out to you, but now would be a good time either to pause this video or to open up this slide on Edmodo and just have a read through some of these facts. Okay, so on Friday I put up a questionnaire on SurveyMonkey. It was on our Edmodo page, and 40 of you answered this questionnaire, which is great. Thank you to those of you who took part, but please don't worry if you didn't take part, because I put it up on Friday afternoon and I collected the data this weekend, so you've not really had a chance, all of you, to have a proper look at it. But regardless, we're going to have a look at some of the questions that I asked and what the responses were. So again, just another hint to go and have a look at the help sheet here. We're going to split today's lesson into our hypotheses, our predictions, that is, the presentation of our data analysis, our conclusion, and our evaluation. So either split your piece of paper into these sections or your book. Okay, so our hypotheses first. So a hypothesis is when you make a prediction, and I'm pretty sure you'll do this in science as well as in geography. So down here are 4 of the questions I asked. There's a couple more than this, but I think we'll just choose these for today's lesson. So I asked, how often do you buy new clothes or shoes? What is your main reason for buying these clothes? What is the most important factor when buying these clothes? And what do you do if your clothes become damaged? So 4 questions we're going to focus on, and we're going to write a hypothesis or a prediction for how each of these questions were answered. So to start off with, how often do you buy new clothes or shoes? So you've got the options down here. So into your book or piece of paper, you're going to write number 1, most people will buy new clothes, ... and you can either decide to finish that off with at least once a month, at least once every 2 to 5 months, every 6 months, once a year, or less than once a year. So whichever one of those options you think would be the most common choice, that will make up hypothesis number 1. Question number 2, what is the main reason for buying new clothes? You're going to feed that into your hypothesis by saying the most common reason for buying new clothes will be that either their clothes no longer fit, their clothes are torn or damaged, they want clothes that are newly in fashion, or another reason, very vague. So finish off these 2 sentences for me as your first 2 hypotheses. Pause the video if need be. I'll plough on. So number 3, hypothesis number 3, most people will consider blank the most important factor when buying new clothes. So to fill in that blank, you need to choose one of these options. So is it the price, so cheap clothes, expensive clothes being preferable, comfort, the appearance of their clothes, do they want them in fashion? Most people will consider how ethical their clothes are as being the most important factor when buying new clothes, or finally, most people will consider sustainability the most important factor when buying their new clothes. Finally, number 4, when clothes are no longer wanted, most people will ... I want you to choose one of these options, whichever one of those options for this section here you think will be the most popular choice. So take some time to consider what your hypotheses might be. Remember, looking at the help sheet, oh, where is it? There it is. You should number your hypotheses and just either fill in the blanks or complete the ... section. So pause the video now. Okay, methods. Usually we will be writing about the methods, but we're not going to today, and that is purely because I've collected the data for you. So in geography and science and whatnot, if you collect your own data, it's known as primary data. That's what you'll do when you're in GCSE, when you go to the coast or to Bowness in the Lake District. But this is secondary data. I've already collected the data for you, so we're not going to spend too long writing about that. Okay, data presentation. So here are the results that I gathered for you. You're going to construct 4 graphs to represent your findings. Now, it's up to you how you construct these graphs. I'll give you a couple of options. What is worth noting, here I've got the question that was asked. So the yellow boxes, and the table below shows you the responses. I've given you 2 ways you can display your data. You can either display your data in terms of a number of people who answered, or what I think is easier to display, the percentage of people who answered whichever question or gave whichever response. So here we can see for number 1, how often do you buy new clothing? 25% of people said at least once a month. That was 10 people, but it might be easier to plot to 25. So either pick to display the number of people or the percentage of people which made certain responses. So we'll look at the help sheet to see how I've done this. So each graph along the x-axis, we've got the response to the question, and along the y-axis, we've got the percentage of people who responded in a certain way. And along the top, we've got what the graph shows. So the first graph here, a graph to show how often people buy new clothes. And I've got the data here just to help us. So what I've done is I've taken a 10 centimetre ruler and I've measured 10 centimetres upwards, because I don't have any graph paper, unfortunately. And I've marked every time I've gone up 10 centimetres. So I've gone up 10, 20, 30 and so on. And this represents a percentage of people who have answered in a certain way. So we can see here, at least once a month was 10 people, but I'm going to ignore that column really because I'm looking at the percentage. So 25% of people buy clothing at least once a month. So you can see here I've plotted 25%. 42.5% of people have responded at least once every 2 to 5 months. So again, you can see where I've plotted that, and actually I've just measured up 4.25 centimetres. It's made it a little bit easier for me, and I've completed that graph as so. If you're feeling brave and confident, you can make a stacked bar chart instead. So here, for a graph to show the reasons for buying new clothes, 42.5% of people said that clothing is damaged. So again, I've measured up 42.5 or 4.25 centimetres along here, you can see, and I've put in the key that a green striped is clothes are damaged. The dotted clothes no longer fit is 25%, and the zigzag fashionable clothes are wanted is again 25%, with the remaining 5% being other. If you're confident drawing stacked bar charts, then it would be great to add that into your data presentation. If not, then just stick to the normal bar charts, please. I'll pause the video here so you can have a go at presenting your data. If you do feel a little bit stuck or a little bit unsure of how to get going, then I don't really have an issue with you copying my graphs out to start off with, as long as you're taking care. And then for the remaining graphs, which show the factors most important when buying new clothes, and the graph which shows what happens to unwanted clothing, you can have a go at that on your own. Okay, data analysis. So what does your data show and why? So we'll start off by describing the data. So just tell me what you see. So I've given you again some starter sentences. The data shows that most people buy new clothing every ... So look back at your data and you can see that most people buy new clothing once every 2 to 5 months. On the other hand, the smallest number of people buy new clothing ... So again, look back. The smallest number of people buy new clothing less than once a year. So that's the least common option. And again, just describe what your graph shows. So the highest percentage of people do what? So what's the most common option when it comes to disposing of clothes, and so on. And as you talk me through this data, you might be telling me how many people do what, but again, you can try and use percentages instead. So instead of saying 10 people, maybe say 25% of people, or even better, you could say a quarter of respondents, just about changing up your language a little bit. So there's some options for you to look at there. Once you've tried to describe your graphs to me, so just a few descriptions of each graph, explain your data. So tell me why you think you found this. So looking at your data, I can see that 25% of people are drawn to cheap clothing. Why do you think this is? The majority of people buy new clothes every 2 to 5 months. Why do you think that is? And I'm sure if you ask your grandparents, for example, how often they bought new clothes, maybe when they were your age, I somewhat doubt that it would be once every 2 to 5 months. I imagine that number's gone up as you lot have come into the world. So have a think about why is it that we buy more clothes now than we perhaps would have done at one point, and start to think about any reasons for the data that you can see. Okay, so your data analysis, you'll see that I've left a blank page, a blank section on your help sheet. When it comes to your evaluation, I will put on some extra help on the help sheet. Okay, conclusions. Essentially, this is about summarising what you have learned. So I've started off by saying I predicted that. So let's say I predicted that most people would buy clothes once every 6 months. So you could say, that was my prediction. I have learned that either this was right or this was wrong. You can also start to think about summarising what you've learned. So to sum up, what's the main things you've learned? To conclude, and finally, it may be concluded, and so on. So any of the main points that you think you've learned from doing this investigation. You don't have to use all of those sort of sentences, but just take a couple of them to help you on your way. Last but not least, the evaluation. I would argue this is maybe one of the most important parts of a study, because it makes you start to think about how good your investigation was and how it might be improved. So on this graph here, that shows you how, well, who completed this survey. So the vast majority of people were under 18, so I'm going to presume that was you lot, and only 40 people completed the survey. So 40 people completed it, but most of them were under 18. Why might that be a problem? So just bear in mind that most under 18-year-olds, and particularly most year 8s, don't have a large amount of income themselves. You might have a few jobs on the side, but really it's not you who will be buying most of the clothing. Have a think about who you would ideally like to answer this questionnaire. So if I was doing it, I would want perhaps the same number of people from each age group. So we've not got many people from 31 onwards, or actually no, from 25 onwards, which will more than likely be your parents. So perhaps you want more of a representative sample. And also you might think of other questions to ask. So maybe you might want to start asking where people buy their clothes from, how often they buy second-hand clothes, and so on. So essentially, I want you to tell me how we could improve the study overall. Some good words to use are down here, so have a read of what these words are and their definition. You don't have to use the words in the table here, but it'd be great if you can. I'm pretty sure all of us can use sample size. So sample size is a number of people that you ask. So essentially, the more people you ask, the more reliable your data is. So again, pause this video here. I'll put some stenton starters on our help sheet for you. That concludes today's lesson once you get to that point, and hopefully you've ticked off all the learning objectives and you have an idea of how we conduct an investigation in geography. It was a little bit of a rapid fly through an investigation, but again, it's something that you'll be picking up again in year 10 when I imagine most of you will be taking geography for GCSE. As is always the case, drop us a message if you need to ask a question, and please utilise the help sheet. It is there for you to use. Thank you very much.